All right, what's up, guys? Derek here, aka Mr. Enchanted. Now, I just wanted to make a video and sort of talk about the state of Lorcana, where we are at the end of set 6, and where I feel like green steel is, or where we are positioned in the meta. So I quickly wanted to go over two deck lists here. I'll show one of them. And for the store set champs, I ended up playing in 4 for this set. I did win 2 scars in the first 2, and then I had 2 other store champs that I was unsuccessful. So in Lorcana, if you want to improve your game, if you want to get better, it's really important to talk about your losses. And whenever you take an L and you don't do well, you don't make top cut, it feels bad. No one likes that feeling. But it's important to recognize the learning opportunity you have from taking that L. And this was one of them. So this was my 3rd store set champs that I went to, and I decided to bring a discard heavy package green steel variant. Now, normally when I play green steel, I am someone who loves to build decks. Deck building is one of my biggest strengths when it comes to TCGs. It was my main strength in Pokemon way back in the day, and it's just something that I really love to do. Obviously, building decks is not the entirety of the game. You know, you do want to be a good player as well, a good pilot, but something about just experimenting with different builds, my own strategies, coming up with my own ideas is something that has always resonated with me, which is part of the reason why I was successful in Seattle, where I had this very bizarre Robin Hood Merfolk Tinkerbell deck, which seemed very strange, but it was something that I was comfortable with. It was something that I practiced with. And so this is an idea or a concept that I like to apply to all types of tournaments, regardless of them being competitive, locals, DLCs, or whatever. And that's experimentation, try new decks. And so for this store set champs, I went to a store that I normally don't play at, and I wanted to just bring this very heavy discard package. Now, in this deck that I brought, we went with 4 Sudden Chill, 4 Hypnotize, only 3 Prince John, which is kind of weird, 2 Lucifers, and 4 Brunos. Now, when you run Bruno, obviously you probably want to have some 5-drops so you can sing the Bruno, so we ran the Beast package. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with this version of Green Steel, but I feel like most people are, because this was the version that was very popular in, was it Vegas and Seattle, I believe? Zan and Wonderland 1 with variations like this. But I always call this whole Morph Beast package, it's like the Matt Petal and Dale Bolito package. These are the guys that I play in my locals that I've learned a lot from, and they were the 2 that first sort of, I don't know if they invented it or built this deck, but I always call the Morph and Beast package the Matt and Dale deck or whatever. So anyways, the main idea here is that the Morph gives you the opportunity to pose a threat on turn 2 by shifting the Sad Beast on top of Morph on turn 3. Now, the added benefit to this deck is that if you don't get the Diablo 1 on turn 1, you can shift your Diablo on top of Morph. So it gives you these extra shift targets for your Diablo, which is nice. Now, the only problem with this version of the deck that I found was that it tends to be a bit too slow, as the meta in set 6 really ramped up when it came to these super aggro-y dock pile type decks. You know, everything sped up. And so a lot of the time, by just playing Morph on 2, passing, shifting, Beast on 3, you know, it was really easy to fall behind. And I felt that a lot. However, by playing the deck properly and discarding down your opponent's hand, the Beast and the Diablo would give you a chance to snowball. And what's great about this version of the deck is that you don't have to just rely on Diablo Shift. And I talk about this all the time, right? If you don't get Diablo Shift, what is your secondary plan of attack? You know, where are you going to draw your cards? You know, where's your strategy going to come from? And Sad Beast can do that for you. Because if a Sad Beast goes unchecked and you keep drawing 2 cards every turn, you know, 1 for Beast and 1 for your draw, it can snowball out of control. And so that's one thing that the deck really had going for it. Now, upon my first initial, I guess I haven't looked at this list in a while, But I wonder why I only ran 3 Prince John and why I had 2 Lucifer. Obviously, that's probably a mistake. I don't think you would want to have more than 1 Lucifer, because you could always just bounce the Lucifer with the Muses if you want to play another one. And if you're going to go heavy with the discard package, you probably want to run 4 Prince John. So right off the bat, there's some obvious mistakes with this deck that I built. And other than that, everything seems okay-ish. 3 Ursula, 3 Calhoun, and oh yeah, let's talk about how the deck did. So in this tournament, my brother went with me, and unfortunately for him, he was 3-0 after 3 rounds, and he was pretty much the 1 seed. And he had a tough call, or he had some bad news come up that his son was sort of sick and had to go to the hospital, had to go to the ER. And so he had to kind of leave from the tournament right away in round 4. And that kind of like messed both of us up, you know, because we booked this weekend off to play some Lorcana, try to, you know, win a Scar. And right off the bat, after round 3, he got some bad news. So I stayed around for him, just in case he were to top, and I would just collect the Scar for my brother, which, you know, something I would like to do. And also, you know, he needed to go to the hospital, and there was nothing I couldn't help in any way. And so this kind of rattled me, and this was the first time where I didn't even want to play Lorcana anymore. At this point, my brother was 3-0, and I was 2-1. I believe I beat I beat Steel Song, and then I lost in the mirror, and then I beat Blurple. So I was 2-1, and my brother was 3-0, so we had a pretty good shot to make top cut. But just after that round 3, it was just, I don't know, I just didn't want to play at all anymore. But I did play it out, and I hung around, you know, just so that hopefully my brother could make top cut. And the guy that he played in round 4 was nice enough to just ID. So he ended up being 3-0-1. Then he automatically took an L in round 5, so 3-1-1. And he managed to make top cut, and he won his Scar. So it ended up being good that I hung around. And where's the Scar? There's a Scar is somewhere over here. So I don't know, right here, Scar number 3. I don't know, they're here somewhere. And for me, this is why mindset is so incredibly important when it comes to Lorcana. I touched on this topic in one of my previous videos, where the state of mind that you're in is so important for being successful in this game. And I was not in it. And this was the first time that I can remember where I can vividly remember not wanting to play the game. And I love playing. Like, I love playing at locals. I love playing at big events. I love playing online. I love playing with my friends. Like, whenever I can play a game of Lorcana, it excites me because it's a lot of fun and I love it. And this was the first time ever where I just didn't want to play. I just wanted to go home. Like, this is how I felt. And I tried to, you know, like, suck it up, for lack of a better term, and then just play it out. But I got crushed in round 4, and then I got crushed again in round 5, and I ended up 2-3, and which is fine. But again, what can we learn from this? Your state of mind, the mood that you're in, your mindset, all of that mental preparation is so important, again, if you want to be successful in this game. And here's a clear example of where I was compromised, and I shouldn't have been playing. You know, but I want to do a solid for my brother and get him his Scar, so I did do that. And so this deck, it ended up going 2-3. Like I said, I believe the last 2 rounds that I lost against Red Blue, and then I lost against Purple Steel. And both games, or both rounds, I went 0-2. I got 0-2 twice. And so I didn't even win a game after that 3rd round news. And other than that, there were some issues that I did notice against the Red-Blue deck, where I really missed the Cursed Merfolk. And now this is a card that has been a staple in my Green-Steel decks for as long as I can remember. If you go back to my Seattle DLC deck, you'll see I have 4 Cursed Merfolks when that card seemed to be like shit. It seemed to be an afterthought. It was a card that no one was really running in green steel. Seemed very strange and out of place. And I've always enjoyed, or I've always loved playing Cursed Merfolk just because of the pressure that it applies early and the fact that if you challenge it, it just casts a sudden chill for free. And against a red-blue matchup, I figured that, okay, maybe the Sad Beast would be able to put in a ton of work because red-blue has been off of Medusa. And Sad Beast was a prime target for Medusa, which kind of sucked. But now that Medusa's kind of fallen out of favor, maybe I figured, Sad Beast can carry the way. But what I noticed is that by the time I got the discard package online or the John Engine online or Beast, drawing me cards, I was at like 3 lore, maybe 4. And so when you run the Merfolk line, you can apply way more pressure early on. And when you do that, it forces a red-blue player to play some cards to kill the Merfolks, to challenge the Merfolks and get them off the board, because you can't let them quest infinitely. But if you don't run the Merfolk line, you have, Morphs and Diablos on board, Calhouns, then the red-blue player can just freely ramp. And that's what happened. And I just got absolutely crushed. And so I figured maybe there definitely was some misplays in how I played the deck and also how I built it. But maybe it was also my lack of ability to adjust. Where in the past, I was so used to getting up to 6, 7, 8 lore quickly with the help of the Merfolks and being able to close out the game and apply that pressure to the red-blue player. Whereas this time, I didn't adapt properly. And so we took this Lucifer Beast discard deck 2-3, and we weren't able to win a Scar. But yeah, side note, my brother was playing green-purple. He plays a modified green-purple variant that he sort of built. I think he runs the Ursula, the big Ursula, purple Ursula, but he doesn't run the Clarabelle. And he was just crushing people, and I was super happy for him. But yeah, this tournament just wasn't in the cards for us, and I'll take my L on that one. Now, if we move on to, let me pull up, I have one more other deck I want to talk about. Now, this is one I got a lot of flack for. This is my John Silver variant. Now, John Silver has been a card that, for whatever reason, I've always loved. I find it funny. I find it interesting. And it's a card that can suck ass or completely dominate a game, depending on the circumstances. Now, me bringing this deck was definitely a mistake. So, for my final store set champs, it was at our hardest locals, where all of the best players in my area play. And this is the toughest store champs to win. A lot of great players are there. And so you got to bring your A game. But for me, I already had 2 scars, and I had this sour taste in my mouth from that past store champs that I had with my brother. And so going into this one, I just wanted to have fun, right? I didn't want to just focus entirely on winning. And so my goal for this one is bring a deck that, I just wanted to have a good time with. Now, the only problem is that when you go into a hyper competitive environment and you bring a subpar deck, you are going to get punished. And that is what happened to me. I got incredibly punished playing this deck. However, it didn't perform as poorly as I thought. I actually had a shot at making top cut. So the deck ended up going 3-2. Now, the problem was in round 1, I faced off against my buddy Josh Shadox, who is one of the better players in our group. And he was on Blurple, I believe, and he just crushed me 2-0. And again, this is a thing. If you bring a B tier deck into a tournament where there's A tier players, you are going to get punished. And so Josh basically steamrolled me easily with blue-purple. I didn't really put up too much resistance. I tried my best. The only caveat I kind of remember is I didn't shift Diablo. But again, like, what is your plan if you don't shift Diablo, right? You have to have some type of backup plan. And so this was where this line of Merfolk Diablo into, I don't know, Smee, Calhoun, and John Silver was very underwhelming. Now, the main idea that you kind of want to have with this deck is have the Cove up early. So maybe you play Diablo on 1, you shift Diablo on 2, put Diablo into the Cove, and then on turn 3 you can play either your Ursula or your Pete, or maybe a Smee and something else, but you can save the John Silver. You don't have to play John Silver right on 3. And what I was trying to do was to play him on 4, where I could play him on 4 and pay 1 to move him into the Cove. Then he becomes a 4/4 with resist 1. And that becomes incredibly problematic to remove and hard to deal with. Like, how are you going to take out a 4/4 with resist 1? Well, I found out quickly it can just get Zeused. It can just get Zeused for 5, right? So even though I had this plan of putting John Silver in the Cove and protecting him and maybe even casting I'm Still Here on him, I just still got decimated in a lot of these situations. I remember against Josh, I believe I got a John Silver out. I had was it a Cove and a Mind? So we had resist 2. But then I think he just used Let It Go, or just used Hades on him. So we had a good laugh. And yeah, I just got incredibly punished. And then the other loss I had was against Red Blue. Now, this was a match that was really close. It was really, really close. One thing I noticed is that the Merfolks plus the Mines puts on a tremendous amount of pressure. So instead of opening, let's say, Merfolk, Calhoun, or Merfolk Smee, for example, maybe Merfolk Smee is what I normally look for, right? Because 2 bodies at quest for 2. Instead of doing that, I'd open Merfolk on 1 and then the Mines on 2, and just let the Mines tick away. Because the Smee, it's going to kill itself after you quest 3 times, or maybe you quest once and the Tipo is going to swing into him. And so by just opening Merfolks and the Mines, it just puts the red-blue player on a clock. And so I did that, and I won game 1, and it just applies so much pressure, early game pressure onto them. But then in game 2 and 3, pretty much just bricked. And again, no Diablo shift. So what was my backup plan? I don't know, John Silver on 3, which again was just super underwhelming, and I ended up losing a really close game 3 against Red Blue. Now, there definitely was potential there for me to win that game, because after that, I did face another Red Blue player, and similar situation, just putting out the Mines and just leaving it out there. It's just going to keep ticking for lore. And what this does is it puts them in this precarious situation where they got to have Maui, the 5-drop Maui. And if they don't, it's incredibly hard for them to clear the mine. Because if they don't have Maui on 5, or maybe on turn 4 after you ramp, but let's say they don't have 5-drop Maui, they're going to try to swing Grammatala and something else into the mine, but then you can just use your strength and clear the Grammatala. And so the mine will just keep ticking away. So I won a red-blue match. It was kind of tight. It was pretty close. And it was like the Merfolks and the Mines that really won me that game. Now, other than that, just by glancing at the list, there were a couple mistakes in the deck building process that I noticed after the tournament. And the biggest thing was the lack of 4-drops. Now, normally you would want to play the Muses, for example, and I really missed having some kind of 4-drop. Now, the idea that I had was that John Silver was quote unquote the 4-drop, because I wanted to play him for 3 and then move him for 1 into the Cove. But after the tournament, I kind of realized, man, Pluto would probably do really good in this deck, because then I could play Ursula 3 or John Silver on turn 3, then play the Pluto on 4 to give them some type of protection. Now, normally, whenever you use a John Silver and you exert him, you quest with him, you swing into something with him, he just gets blown up instantly in a combination of actions and songs or just challenges, and he just dies. But if you can hide him behind a Pluto, it just gives him that extra layer of protection. And so I think there's something here with the John Silver. You know, this is not like some amazing A tier or S tier deck. Again, this is a deck that I love to play. It's a lot of fun. It's a card that kind of makes me laugh. But again, I got roasted from all my buddies for playing John Silver. But we all had a good laugh because everyone's like, what the hell are you playing? The card's so bad. And I was like, I know. But again, I had such a good time. There was tiny hope for maybe making top cut with 3-2, but it wasn't even close. I think I finished like 12th or something. So took another L on that deck. But in this Store Champs, I came in with the right mindset. I was in a good place mentally. I wanted to have some fun and maybe see if I can top with this crazy John Silver deck. Then I thought that'd be super cool, right? And I was kind of close. Maybe if I was able to win game 3 against Red Blue, I could have got there. But anyways, I took an L on this one. And again, this is another area or another time for when we can kind of review our play. Review the decisions we've made. Why did we lose? How come we weren't successful? Was it our bad play? Did we misplay? Did we make mistakes? Was it in the deck building process? Was it in predicting the metagame that was going to show up at the Store Champs? There's a lot of factors that all go into this pot of how do you win at Lorcana. And I like to review that and contemplate and analyze all those different factors and try to figure out, again, what's my best course of action moving forward. And so if I want to be as competitive as I can be, make the best possible green steel deck that I can make and enter in these big tournaments like the DLCs, then I need to learn from these moments from when I'm unsuccessful. And the worst thing you can do is that when you lose, getting upset or blaming external circumstances or blaming luck or blaming that you bricked or blaming that your opponents got lucky. All those things don't do anything for you. They don't help you in any way. They don't improve your game. And so, again, you have to be as pragmatic as you can with this type of stuff, be as reasonable as you can, and be as honest as you can. And so for me, again, one tournament, not in the right mindset, and also had a deck building mistake, right? Running 2 Lucifers and running only 3 Prince Johns when I'm trying to play a discard heavy package. That doesn't make any sense. So right there, bam, made a mistake in the deck building process. Second is, not being in the right mindset. So that crushed me on that one. And then the 4th Store Set Champs, if your goal is winning, you got to bring the best possible deck you can. And if there's any leaks in your game, if there's any soft spots or weaknesses, good players are going to find them and they're going to pick at them and they're going to beat you. And you have to know that's possible. And that's exactly what happened to me. And so, again, really good to review taking L's. I know this is not an easy video to make because no one likes to admit when they lost. When you win a scar, when you win a play mat or whatever, you win your locals, you win a tournament, it feels good because you can talk about all the things you did right. You can talk about your deck and you can brag about how you won all these games and you made all these sick plays. And we can all do that. That's easy. But it's these moments like when it's hard and it's not working, when you're losing, right? And then how do you improve? And so again, for me, one of the reasons that has really propelled and accelerated my game when it comes to my skill level and my results is just being honest with these situations just like this, right? Made a ton of mistakes, right? In the deck building process, the cards I chose, the way I played. And now, moving forward, I'm not going to make those mistakes in the future. And if you see me running John Silver again, then maybe I'm still making those mistakes and I didn't learn anything. So other than that, I think I had a pretty successful store set champs, had a lot of fun. We played in 4, we won 2 scars, we won 1 championship playmat, running 4 different versions of green steel. Now, lastly, to close out this video, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about where green steel is in the current meta, as we're in this sort of bizarre like limbo period where store set champs are done, but Worlds hasn't really been announced. We don't know when the next DLC is. There's not really much going on. We have all the set 7 cards coming out. So I want to focus on building new decks with the new cards, but also I still have one more big tournament that I'm going to be playing. And so I'm going to be stuck on set 6. Now, originally that tournament was supposed to be today, but in Canada, we got a ton of snow. Like, and I'm talking like snow like above my waist. I don't know how many feet or centimeters that we got, but there was like a ridiculous amount of snow. I was shoveling and the snowbank was taller than me. But anyways, that tournament has been postponed for a couple more weeks. So I was hoping today I'd be done with set 6 and I could just focus on set 7 stuff. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I am going to be stuck in set 6 for at least 2 more weeks. And I'm going to be tinkering again with my green steel build, trying to figure out, what am I going to bring? Am I going to go the more merfolk line? Am I going to go heavy in the discard package? Am I bringing John Silver? Maybe. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. And once that tournament is done, we can jump into the set 7 stuff. And I'm super excited about that. Obviously, I'm going to start off with green steel as I'm primarily a green steel player. But one of the best things in Lorcana is when a new set comes out, I love to just try everything. Try all the new cards, try colors that you're not comfortable with, try decks you've never played before, and then just have fun with it. Because that's the best, for me, that's one of the best things in Lorcana. When a new set comes out, everything is fresh, everyone's trying new cards, the meta isn't solved yet, no one knows what's going on. It's so much fun. I love that. And then we can get into the nitty-gritty of really refining our deck, really refining the green steel deck and figuring out where it's positioned in the meta and how we want to build it moving forward. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Again, this could be more set 6 stuff on my mind, so I'm not sure what videos I'll have in the future, but I definitely will be posting something. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.